Have you ever wondered why everything around you seems to be getting more expensive over time? Gas, food, rent. Prices seem to creep higher and higher every year. That's because of inflation. But what exactly is inflation? Why does it happen? And how does it affect your daily life? Today, we're diving deep into inflation, breaking down everything from its causes to how central banks try to keep it under control. Welcome to Unravel, Money and Economics. In this channel, we simplify the world of finance, economics, and money, so you can understand how it all works, no matter your background. In simple terms, inflation is the rise in the general level of prices of goods and services over time. To illustrate, let's take a simple example, a movie ticket. 20 years ago, maybe a movie ticket cost around $5. Today, that same ticket can easily cost you $15. What changed? The ticket itself didn't get 3 times better, but your money lost purchasing power. This decline in purchasing power is exactly what inflation represents. Economists measure inflation using something called the Consumer Price Index, CPI, which tracks the average price changes of a basket of commonly purchased items like groceries, housing, clothing, and transportation. Inflation doesn't just happen randomly. There are 3 main reasons prices rise. 1. Demand pull. Inflation. This happens when demand for products outstrips supply. Imagine everyone suddenly wanting a new gaming console. The supply is limited, so sellers raise prices. On a larger scale, demand pull inflation often happens in a rapidly growing economy, where consumers spend more, businesses expand, and eventually prices rise across many sectors. 2. Cost push. Inflation. Here, prices rise because businesses face higher costs. For example, when oil prices increase, companies pay more for transportation, raw materials, and energy. They eventually pass these higher costs onto consumers through increased prices. The 1970s oil crisis was a textbook case of cost-push inflation. 3. Built-in inflation. This occurs due to expectations. If people expect prices to rise, they demand higher wages to keep their buying power. Higher wages lead businesses to increase their prices even more, creating a self-reinforcing spiral. This happened notably during periods of sustained inflation in the past. Let's put inflation in context with real-world historical examples. In Germany during the 1920s, hyperinflation reached such extremes that people needed wheelbarrows of money to buy basic goods like bread. Why? The German government printed huge amounts of money to pay off war debts, rapidly reducing the currency's value. Another example is Zimbabwe in the late 2000s, where inflation hit billions of percent annually. Prices doubled every day, and the Zimbabwean dollar became essentially worthless. People shifted to using foreign currencies or even bartering goods directly. Recently, Venezuela faced severe hyperinflation due to political instability and economic mismanagement. Prices soared so quickly that grocery shopping required carrying bags of cash or digital transfers as physical money became impractical. These cases vividly demonstrate how uncontrolled inflation can devastate entire economies and societies. Why does inflation matter so much to the average person? Firstly, inflation affects your savings. Suppose you have $10,000 saved. If inflation is 5% per year, your money's purchasing power decreases by $500 each year. In 10 years, that money might only buy what $6,000 could buy today. Inflation also impacts your salary. If your pay raises don't keep pace with inflation, your income effectively shrinks every year. This is why people often feel poorer even if their salary technically increases. But inflation isn't always bad for everyone. If you have fixed-rate debt, like a mortgage or student loan, inflation can actually help because it reduces the real value of the money you owe. Borrowers repay their debt with money that's less valuable than when they first borrowed it. Who's responsible for keeping inflation under control? Generally, this task belongs to a country's central bank, such as the Federal Reserve, Fed, in the US, the European Central Bank, ECB in Europe, or the Bank of Canada. Central banks use various tools, but the most important is adjusting interest rates. Here's how that works. Higher interest rates make borrowing more expensive, slowing spending, reducing demand, and thus cooling inflation. Lower interest rates encourage borrowing and spending, stimulating economic growth but potentially fueling inflation. The Fed and other central banks target low, stable inflation, usually around 2% per year, as the ideal economic scenario. Too much inflation erodes purchasing power, but too little or deflation can stall economic growth and increase unemployment. Finding this balance is tricky. Central banks closely monitor economic data to adjust policy effectively, which can directly affect everything from your credit card interest to home loan rates. Let's quickly clear up some common misconceptions. Myth: all inflation is harmful. Reality: moderate inflation, around 2%, is healthy, reflecting economic growth and stability. Myth: printing money always causes inflation. Reality: while excessive money printing can cause inflation, it's not guaranteed, especially if the economy is weak or facing deflationary pressures. Inflation, when moderate, incentivizes people to spend and invest rather than hoard cash. The goal isn't zero inflation, it's stability and predictability. Understanding inflation isn't just about economic theory. It's essential for planning your financial future and understanding how your money really works. Have a topic you're curious about? Let us know in the comments, and hit subscribe so you don't miss what's next. As we continue to unravel the world of money and economics, one concept at a time.